Here are the top stories for today, May 19, 2021. Boosting inoculation, the country's COVID-19 vaccination drive has breached the 3 million mark, even as more Filipinos are encouraged to get an extra layer of protection through getting the jabs. The government says around 3.9 million vaccine doses are needed in high-risk areas, with 3.3 million of these to be deployed in Metro Manila and 6 other provinces. Standing firm on sovereignty, the Foreign Affairs Department rejects China's unilateral fishing ban in the West Philippine Sea, saying the move has no basis under international law. And the death toll in Israel's offensive in the Gaza Strip has reached over 200 as conflict in the region shows no signs of abating. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story, the Philippines has breached the 3 million mark in its COVID-19 vaccination program. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said jabs have been administered nationwide since March 1. Galvez said a total of 3,114,847 doses have been administered as of 6 p.m. of May 17. Of the total, 2.3 million doses are administered as the first dose, while more than 751,000 are administered as the second dose. Galvez said the government targets to inoculate 500,000 individuals per day or 3 million jabs per week. This is to achieve its target of 50 to 70 million vaccines to achieve herd immunity by the fourth quarter of the year. Galvez said the COVAX facility will deliver 2.2 million doses of Pfizer-BioNTech and 2 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccines between May and June. Another 500,000 doses of Sinovac jabs will also arrive today. Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte reiterates his appeal to the public to get vaccinated for protection. He also assures that all the jabs, regardless of the brand, are safe and reliable.
If you are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
No more announcement of the COVID-19 vaccine brand. The Department of Health says the public will no longer be able to access what brand of vaccine they will get amid the arising demand for certain jabs. It assures that all brands are safe and have painstakingly undergo a series of clinical trials before getting the approval of the FDA.
Kung gusto nyo magpabakuna, pumunta kayo sa ganitong facility o kaya vaccination sites. Tapos kung ano yung bakuna na available, yun ang dapat kunin nila. Kasi nga dinagsa yung di ba? Dinagsa yung Pfizer kasi nung nag-announce na may Pfizer, everybody wanted to queue sa Pfizer. I think our general principle, kung anong bakuna ang available, dapat kunin mo na.
Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. stressed the importance of having a steady supply of vaccines to achieve herd immunity in the country. Galvez said the government is focusing its vaccination program in the National Capital Region, Bulacan, Laguna, Cavite, Rizal, Batangas, Pampanga, Metro Cebu, and Metro Davao. These areas are considered high risk for COVID-19. Galvez said the National Capital Region and 6 nearby provinces will be needing some 3.3 million doses of COVID-19 jabs per month, while Metro Cebu and Metro Davao should get more or less 300,000 to 350,000 doses per month. The government targets to achieve herd immunity by November or December of this year. More local government units in Bicol and the Visayas are ramping up on their vaccination drive. This as the national government targets to achieve herd immunity before the year ends. The details from Marita Muahe.
In Western Visayas, the region received additional 32,400 doses of the Sinovac vaccines. Iloilo got the highest allocation with 15,000 doses, while Aklan, Capiz, and Antique received 4,480 doses each. More than 100,000 individuals from priority group A1 to A3 have availed of their first dose. Meanwhile, a fresh batch of 6,000 doses of Sinovac vaccines have been delivered to Bacolod City and Negros Occidental. The city government said the jobs will be used for the first 3 priority sectors. In Legazpi City, Albay, hundreds of senior citizens already received the COVID-19 vaccines held at the 2 big malls in the city. Those who want to avail of the vaccination program are encouraged to register online or contact their hotline numbers. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muahe.
With more jabs coming in, several lawmakers filed a measure seeking to add dentists and medical technologists as vaccinators. House Committee on Health Chair Angelina Tan, along with Marikina City Representative Stella Kimbo and Quezon City Representative Kit Belmonte, filed House Bill 9354, which seeks to amend Republic Act 11525 or the COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act of 2021. The existing law only allows duly trained pharmacists and midwives to administer doses of COVID-19 vaccines. Tan said the addition of dentists and medical technologists as vaccinators will contribute to the expansion of the vaccination program of the nation as more can administer jabs to Filipinos. Religious gatherings are now allowed up to 30% in areas placed under the General Community Quarantine or GCQ. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said the 10% seating capacity earlier imposed under the GCQ areas may just be a case of plain oversight. Under the previous MECQ rules, religious gatherings were allowed a maximum 10% seating capacity in the National Capital Region, Laguna, Cavite, Rizal, and Bulacan, and up to 30% if the local government unit will allow it. Now that the NCR Plus has shifted to GCQ with heightened restrictions, Guevara said the allowable seating capacity should be at least up to 30%, while it is 50% in modified GCQ. Meanwhile, engineering information technology, industrial technology, and maritime-related courses would be open for limited in-person classes. CHED Chairperson Prospero de Vera said these courses are being considered because there are hands-on activities that cannot be delivered virtually. He said resumption would still depend on the safety of students. Indonesia steps up as COVID-19 cases surge in most parts of the country. Authorities, however, said this is relatively controllable. Erlangga Hartanto of the Committee for COVID-19 Handling and National Economic Recovery said the weekly cases in Sumatra Island are showing an upward trend compared to the first week of April. He said the Indonesian government will continue to step up surveillance of people moving from one area to another, particularly after the Eid al-Fitr festivity. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom reopened its businesses amid fears of the Indian variant. Major sectors of the UK society are set to reopen on Monday as coronavirus restrictions are further eased across England, Wales, and parts of Scotland. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, however, warned that the mutation of the virus could make it more difficult for England to reach its fourth and final step in June. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the latest global COVID-19 figures. Still to come, the DFA rejects China's unilateral fishing ban in the West Philippine Sea. And a palace official says infrastructure programs in South Cotabato remain on track. Details ahead. This is the PNA Newsroom.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP, at ng himpilang ito.
Malacanang said the ongoing maritime row between the Philippines and China will not hinder the possible joint exploration for oil and gas resources in the West Philippine Sea. In 2018, the Philippines and China signed a memorandum of understanding on joint oil exploration in the West Philippine Sea. The two countries sought the joint exploitation of natural resources in the disputed waters under the proposed 60-40 sharing scheme. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the joint exploration agreement would give way to economic activity that would benefit both countries.
Hindi pa nare-resolba kung sino ang merong soberenya dyan sa areas na yan, baka posible na joint ang magiging exploration and exploitation. No? So patuloy pa yung usapin na yan dahil sa iba't ibang parte naman ng daigdig, ito mga issue na ito ay hindi naging hadlang para makinabang ang lahat sa tanging yaman.
The government firmly rejected China's unilateral fishing ban in the South China Sea. The Department of Foreign Affairs said China cannot legally impose or enforce such a ban in the West Philippine Sea. The supposed moratorium runs from May 1st to August 16 and covers waters north of 12 degrees north latitude. This encroaches areas on Philippine territory and exclusive economic zone, including the Bajo de Masinloc. In a statement, the DFA says China's annual fishing moratorium extends far beyond its legitimate maritime entitlements under UNCLOS and is without basis under international law. The DFA urges China to desist from any action and activity that infringes on Philippine sovereignty, sovereign rights, and jurisdiction in contravention of international law. Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. said President Rodrigo Duterte is right not to take the matter to the United Nations where China has the votes. He said the United Nations General Assembly will just turn our loss of possession into Chinese right. Former Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile also agreed that there is no need to bring the award before the UN since the decision was already based on the UNCLOS. The lower Maculan Bridge in Lake Cebu, South Cotabato was damaged as continuous rains pounded the province and neighboring areas on Tuesday night. The approach and slow protection of the lower Maculan Bridge collapsed, rendering the bridge which connects the municipalities of Lake Cebu and Suralia temporarily impassable. The Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office said they also received reports on landslide incidents in Lake Cebu and Tiboli and floods in Santo Niño towns. In General Santos City, at least 8 barangays were affected by the floods triggered by the heavy rains brought by the Intertropical Convergence Zone. The government is on track to complete various vital infrastructure projects in South Cotabato and the neighboring areas before the end of President Rodrigo Duterte's term in 2022. Cabinet Secretary Carlo Alexei Nograles disclosed that more projects under the flagship Build, Build, Build program are fast-tracked even amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Among those completed are the road widening and improvement of the road network connecting Suralia and Lake Cebu in South Cotabato with Maitum Town in Sarangani. In Coronadal City, 3 vital footbridges were constructed and improved, while river control structures were installed in the Topland and Marbel rivers. Also ongoing is the 3.4 billion peso road network that connects General Santos City with Suralia and Tiboli in South Cotabato. Nograles said the projects are designed to contribute to the economic growth of the area, especially with the expected full completion this year of the expansion and rehabilitation of the General Santos City International Airport. Meanwhile, construction firm DM Kunsunhi Incorporated intends to participate in building more projects under the Build, Build, Build program. DMCI Holdings Chairman and President Isidro Kunsunhi said he is bullish about the recovery of its construction business unit if they win some of the big-ticket items in the government's infrastructure program. DMCI is currently participating in the construction of Build, Build, Build projects, including the North-South Commuter Railway, Skyway Stage 3 Section 1, NLEX SLEX Connector Road Section 1, Cavite Laguna Expressway, and LRT Line 2 Masinag Extension. Up next, business owners in Northern Negros say no to NPA's extortion activities. And Israel's offensive in the Gaza Strip claims at least 200 lives, leaving a trail of destruction in the region. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. A hybrid rice farmer in Antique has been inspiring his fellow farmers after his harvest won for him the Department of Agriculture's Masaganang Ani 2020 award. Rejuel Almores of San Jose de Buenavista started farming after he lost his eye in an accident. In 2014, he started planting hybrid rice. He was able to harvest 314 kavans of palay, earning him 216,000 pesos, or almost double the amount of his expenses. Almores now teaches the members of his Farmers Association about farming techniques. He said that farmers just have to work hard and not just be contented with how much they could harvest. Meanwhile, amid the rise of community pantries all over the country these past few months, Kasambayanihan volunteers in Valladolid, Negros Occidental are quietly helping to alleviate hunger and provide livelihood to poor families. The National Anti-Poverty Commission developed the Sambayanihan Serbisyong Sambayanan, a development framework to help uplift people out of poverty and achieve a better life. The NAPC and the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR, launched the Communal Vegetable Farm Project in Barangay Paloma. Volunteers planted various vegetables in partnership with the Department of Agriculture. In Barangay Bayabas, the volunteers raised Peking ducks as a sort of meat and eggs. The NAPC provided an initial 100 Peking ducks, which they are raising. NAPC Secretary Noel Felonco said these efforts inspire them to work harder to bring down poverty incidence, enhance food security, and strengthen rural-urban agroeconomic value chains. The business community in Escalante City, Negros Occidental has vowed to fight the extortion activities of the CPP-NPA. Some 25 business owners and proprietors attended the Peace Awareness Symposium held at the San Marino del Norte Resort and Hotel on May 14. They pledged not to aid communist terrorists and reaffirmed their full support to the government's programs to eradicate insurgency. In a statement, Mayor Melesio Yap Jr. said the business sector is vulnerable to the extortion activities of communist terrorist groups. He said the government will educate and empower businesses to stop providing support to the CPP-NPA. He said this will also make the business sector responsive to their commitment to help the government end insurgency. Escalante was once a hotbed of communist insurgency in Negros Occidental, but 14 of its villages have been recently declared as insurgency cleared. In sports, the training ground for future national athletes is soon to be built in Bataan. In a ceremonial signing and turnover ceremony at the Orient Bataan, Philippine Sports Commission Chairman Butch Ramirez received a deed of donation from Bataan Governor Albert Raymond Garcia for the site of the Philippine Sports Training Center, or PSTC. The provincial government donated 250,000 square meters of land in Bagak for the center. The state-of-the-art sports hub will feature facilities for administrative, sports science, medical, and dormitories with sports amenities for 39 Olympic and non-Olympic sports. The PSTC is scheduled to be completed by year 2025. Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo, chairman of the Senate Committee on Youth and Sports, was also present and assured the government's support for the PSTC. In other news, the death toll of Palestinians killed by Israeli forces at the Gaza Strip has risen to 213, including 61 children and 36 women. The Palestinian Health Ministry on Tuesday said the number of injuries also climbed to 1,442. 10 Israelis have also been killed in Palestinian rocket fire from the Gaza Strip into Israel. The Israeli military has staged airstrikes across the Gaza Strip since May 10, destroying large areas in the blockaded enclave. The recent tensions that started in East Jerusalem during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan spread to Gaza after Israeli forces assaulted worshippers in the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound and the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. Israel occupied East Jerusalem during the 1967 Arab-Israeli War and annexed the entire city in 1980 in a move never recognized by the international community. Nearly 6,000 rooms from 13 hotels in Metro Manila are now available for leisure guests or staycationers from the NCR Plus bubble. This after the Interagency Task Force allowed specialized tourism markets to operate even while NCR Plus is under general community quarantine with heightened restriction status. The Department of Tourism released a list of accommodation establishments that have been granted a certificate of authority to operate for staycation. Guests must only come from within the NCR Plus area and must not be below 18 or above 65 years of age. The DOT assured would-be staycationers that these hotels are not being used as COVID-19 quarantine facilities. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat reminded the public that the health and safety of guests and tourism workers remain the utmost priority. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Boosting inoculation, the country's COVID-19 vaccination drive has breached the 3 million mark, even as more Filipinos are encouraged to get an extra layer of protection through getting the jabs. The government says around 3.9 million vaccine doses are needed in high-risk areas, with 3.3 million of these to be deployed in Metro Manila and 6 other provinces. Standing firm on sovereignty, the Foreign Affairs Department rejects China's unilateral fishing ban in the West Philippine Sea, saying the move has no basis under international law. And the death toll in Israel's offensive in the Gaza Strip has reached over 200 as conflict in the region shows no signs of abating. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change.